Howdy, folks. Dave Man here again, Rollman Revolution. Now, there's a lot of things. I wrote so much stuff down. Just in 1 or 2 days of this news clown show cycle. Really kind of, it's almost overwhelming. Now, to the low information type voter, the person who doesn't really give a rat's hoot about what's going on in the political arena or how the game is played, and the out of mind, out of sight approach to the way the world functions. That only worked up till so far. Now we're living in a time where everybody is impacted by the games being played, whether you want to pay attention to them or not. And that's kind of where we're sitting. I'm one of those people that don't really like to talk about this stuff on the regular, especially to most of the people that I live with and are around, because a lot of people don't like talking about politics. You know, they always told you that there are several things that you're not supposed to discuss if you want to keep your friends. Religion and politics were the two things that my family used to always say, and those are the two things that I've always found the most fascinating. Because I find that there's a lot of bullshit, I guess, intertwined into both of them. So they have a lot of congruency. Religion, in particular, has its own throughout the ages, where you have indulgences being done by the church and all this other stuff. I mean, as long as man has ever been in charge of things, corruption has always found a way in there, and we are dealing with that right now, as we speak, in the Americas. Now, it's happening all over the world, but I'm only speaking to the American people when I talk about this stuff, because we have to take care of this country first. As much as I want to help our neighbors, I've always came from that, that perspective that how in hell's name are you supposed to take care of your neighbor if you yourself are all disheveled and falling apart, right? We don't have our act together here. And we, as an American, and I'm not saying you and I, but the America, for decades now, has been policing the world, going around nation building on behalf of democracy and the Constitution and how this is the way you should do it. And, many other countries, have adopted a very similar government style that, the United States was blessed with. But the thing about it is we're in constitutional crisis, okay? We have so many unanswered questions about elections, about what's going on in our justice system. There's so many different questions and avenues we could go down, but it's the fact that human beings are doing this purposely to other human beings. And I just, the atrocities that human beings have been capable of throughout history, it is overwhelming. And I'm actually in a moment in time where I'm actually being able to witness this actually happening in real time, day in and day out. And it's, I won't say fascinating, but it's almost so diabolically disgusting that human beings are capable of doing this, and they're subservient to something. And I really would love to know what that thing is, that one thing that these individuals who have hijacked the systems that we have believed, were serving us for so many decades. Which, look, I've always said that when you have a government capable of taking out a U.S. president and we just kind of sweep it under the rug and move on like it's no big deal, no tomorrow, yeah, we no longer have a government that is controlled by the people for the people. And if you thought that, then you're crazy. Because since Kennedy to where we are today, and even maybe a little bit before the Truman era, you start to see what the United States became rather than what it truly was in its essence. History is one of those really funny things too, because we know that lying happens in every discipline, but history it takes the cake, in my opinion, because it is filled with so much bloat and bullcrap that your head would spin. But there I say again, this is all done on purpose. We are living in a time right now where information is the keyest thing. It's the truth amongst all truths. And it's tainted in every way you could possibly imagine. Just think about this. Your language, your borders, and your culture are what define a nation. If you destroy those three things, you no longer have a nation because you lose your identity. And identity is what your history is. Your history comes from a specific place. So if you don't know where you came from, how the hell are you supposed to know where you're going? And again, this is rooted in all different types of historical cases where you see that if you want to get rid of any society, all you have to do is erase the history, brainwash an entire generation of citizens, and then tell them this is the reality, and they'll believe it, right? Because why would authority lie to them? We have failed on so many levels. Americans have failed. Because there's so many of us, and there's only a very small portion of them. And we've allowed this to go on. And you know how we've allowed this to go on for so long? We fell for the biggest and the oldest trick in the book. Divide and conquer. And you're still doing it right now. Probably hitting fast forward or hitting the pause button and saying, F that stupid son of a bitch. Right, because again, when somebody speaks something to you that doesn't agree with your original or your way of thinking, it's automatically dismissed, programmed into you. You don't think it is, but it is. So we have a tribalism and a groupthink, all done on purpose, installed in so many variety of different ways, because what the CIA and a lot of these mainstream media agencies have done throughout the years with the Department of Education, anything that the government gets its hands on or gets its tentacles involved with, have found ways to manipulate your children, and then when they manipulate their children. Because, like, I remember 2 generations ago or whatever, I was in, elementary school. Pornography was never allowed in an elementary school. The fact that even a book was suggested or showed up, if anybody found that, do you know the amount of hell and how many people would be fired? Didn't matter the race, color, sex, whatever. It wouldn't matter any of that, because we're looking at a human being, and a human being doing that to other human beings would be considered wrong. But today, we've normalized all of this. And, there are people who are grandmothers now that are shocked to know that their grandchildren are learning this stuff because, like I said, only a couple generations ago, none of this was never heard of. Like I said, a slow drip process, slowly installed over the course of time. It's like a slow manipulation. They sneak it in and then slowly build it up to normalize it. Oh, it's over here, now it's over here, now it's over here. It's everywhere, so it must be the case. When no, it's never been like that. I struggle with times because I'm a person that believes that if you are quiet, shut your mouth really shut your mouth for a few moments and just pay attention to the surroundings around you, you'll be quite surprised some of the things that are talking. Human beings have lost their faculties. They've lost the ability to see, the ability to hear, the ability to critically think about what's actually in front of them, what is being spoken to them, and assessing that with the reality for what it is. Because that's all we have, is the reality. See, if you were to go to sleep tonight and you were to dream about you having angel wings and you were flying all over the sky and you were throwing lightning bolts and you were throwing... When you woke up, if you said, I had a dream and I was doing this and I was doing that and I was throwing lightning bolts and I had... In that sense, in that reality, that would be true and so. But when you came back here, when you woke up and you came back here into this reality, no angel wings, no lightning bolts, no flying around anywhere, right? Because in this reality, that doesn't exist. But you see, we have changed something in our society. Like I was telling you before, a language, border, and culture would define a nation. Well, what's a good way they've attacked us? Well, through the language, right? Girls can be boys and boys can be girls. You have to change all these pronouns up and tell it that the gender is this, and it could be a variety of different things. No. There are only 2 genders, and inside those genders, the apparatus, the car, the vehicle, whatever you want to call it, are varieties of different shades of emotion and characteristical traits. That's what you're talking about. how I fit, the cockpit, the cognitive person driving the vehicle given, right? It blows my mind. I'm blown away by so many things that Americans have stooped themselves down to, that just 2 generations ago, nobody would have put up with any of this shit. I struggle with it because I'm a person that watches all of this kind of stuff play out. I try to get my hands involved into every apparatus that I can to try to get people to say, whoa, I'd never recognized that before, but thanks for pointing it out. Because again, sometimes it's just offering the olive branch. It's offering somebody's, hey, look, I'm not here to argue with anybody, but I want to get things right. I want to see that everybody's family has an opportunity. I want to see that everybody in this world and in America becomes everything they want to become. But it has to stay within the confines of the reality. See, I can't just walk around and say all day long that I'm a 2-year-old. I'm a 2-year-old, so therefore I don't have to pay taxes and do it all this stuff. No, because that doesn't exist in any reality. But yet, we have people walking around all day pretending to be something that they're not, pretending to change the language in a way that perverts it so that you and I can't communicate, that nobody can communicate. I mean, just think about all of the things that happened over the last, few years with the changing of words and what, this word means and what that word means. And no longer you can say that in this terminology. And it's like, whoa. Like I said at the top of this, I get blown away at times because I'm thinking to myself, there's all of us and there's just a small portion of them, and they're making the decisions that are destroying the lives of all of us, and we continue to put up with it. If you're still sitting on the couch at home and bitching, complaining about how shitty the world is, well, you have no room, because again, the only way it changes is if you change, if you get directly involved, if you make a difference, because you have something to offer that maybe somebody else doesn't. Because I believe out there that all of us have a wheelhouse and an area that we're so good at. You may think that the skills you have don't have any bearing on the future of the country that you're living in. I beg to differ. Everybody has something to offer. Everybody has a skill to bring to the table, because we're all uniquely different. We all grew up in a variety of different environments. It's, going back to my point a few minutes ago with this whole what's happening to America and the whole thought process, critical thinking is going on. This groupthink, this tribalism. I just wish I could shake people and tell them, it's not real, right? The groups that they keep putting us all in, they're not real, right? It's the CIA drafts this stuff up and they try to push public opinion into a specific direction. And the best way to do that is to break you and me up so that we're not talking, so that we're not having any conversations about anything that's legitimate, that's going anywhere, because we don't want to get triggered. Look how easily people are triggered today. Triggered over stuff that's not even real. Like you just said something as a joke or something. People freak out because you've upset their very delicate sense. But how did people get so delicate? How did people get to the point where you have all these beta males walking around now? All, what happened? I mean, as far as women out there, women who are looking for real men, I mean, I don't know where you're finding them. Maybe there's a whole bunch where you live, but where I live, we have a larger portion of this way lady back kind of men, that more soy boys and very artsy fartsy blah blah blah. It's just 2 generations ago, yes, there were these stereotypes. Oh, he's a jock, he's a this, he's that, but nobody cared. Nobody gave a shit about the stupid labels that everybody nobody cared, okay, because it was stupid. But it identified in a specific way that everybody kind of understood. But again, like I said, nobody cared. We didn't get emotionally attached to the things that people said. I remember when I was in school once, this thing called sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. But yet today, you weak people, get all upset and you go on your TikToks and go on a rant rave and somebody said and didn't use my proper pronouns and oh my God. You don't realize. I mean, I'm making exaggerations to be silly, but you don't realize how stupid you really look, because the reality that you are living in does not exist. And I'm not saying that to upset anybody, but you can't live in an alternate reality and expect other people to go to that reality. It's like you had a dream, and that we're all supposed to camp out in your dream, wherever that may be, and feed that delusion. No, it doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. And, I listened to some of these podcasts today, the arguments for a cis trans and a cis that. It's like, these are word games. That's all this is. This is a word game. Like I told you at the top of this, the way to destroy a country is through the language, the borders, and the culture. Well, the language, they got that all screwed up. They got people arguing about what a woman is, about you got to be this, you got to be that. You got people coming out of colleges with degrees in, women's studies, and they're men. Okay, so I don't know. We've lost track in the sight of all of that. Oh, and which you're going to pay for under the Biden administration, because all college tuition is free, apparently. We need more men with women's studies. I mean, there's no man on the planet that will ever understand women completely. Not one. And if he tells you, he's lying. He is lying. Anyway. Lost my train of thought with all of this, but the group thing, the sidetracks, how we get caught up into these conversations with people who really don't know what they're talking about. And man, oh man, it just blows my mind, because the future generation is going to be leading the country. And if you don't have any grasp of the reality, this reality, then there's no future for you, because there are dictators and globalists that understand this reality very well. They've been lying to you about this reality for decades, centuries, maybe even millennia. Something has been here. This place is very old. We have old world buildings all over the United States, major cities around the world, Greco-Roman, Gothic, beautiful, intricate stone mason, tip-top. And they can't explain how those buildings got there. They got giant doors, big doors. Let me ask you this. Why would you make a cathedral, castle, whatever you want to call it, whatever they repurposed them for? Why would you make a building, a big, large, massive building, with a door that's 45 feet tall and a door handle that sits about 10 feet up off the floor? Why would you do that? And then there's another, it was so funny, and then there's another door, like if you go to Buckingham Palace and a couple of the other, there's another door, like inside the big door, for us normal sized people. Anyway, there's so much about our history that's bullshit. There's so much about the circus that you see every single day that's complete and utter bullshit. And the things I struggle with every single day is like, how do we get a pathway to getting those American people, and again, because again, we're all coming from a variety of different backgrounds. This is why groupthink happens and gets on the rise, and that's where I lost the track. But the groupthink happens. You live in a city. If you live in Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Dallas, New York, Miami, Jacksonville, depending upon what major city you live in, I will submit that majority of the people in those areas overall have a very similar outlook on life and the overall day-to-day experience. In San Francisco, it's not by accident that you would have more gay, homosexual people living there, because that's where many do live. So a lot of people who want to live in a community filled with will go there. It only makes sense. It's like I said, what you go and you will flock to the places you feel the most accepted, or sometimes you just happen to be born into an area and you incorporate the group think of the region of the because everybody else believes it, so you come up with the same conclusions as well. Now, that doesn't mean that there are some outliers within there, because it's like saying there's no conservatives in California. No, I beg to differ. I think there's a lot more conservatives in California. I just think there's a lot of conservatives who are closet conservatives, because you can't get a job in California. You say something in the wrong way, people will fire you just for doing that, or ostracize you in a way so that you'll never, move up in the company. So it's like we put a stranglehold. This fourth branch that whether you want to admit to it or not, has got a stranglehold over this democracy. And it's funny because the ones that are really preaching this crap about democracy are the biggest tyrants of them all. The ones that are, like I said, the slow drip process, have been installing that slow drip process for so many years. The Nancy Pelosi's, Chuck Schumer's, Mitch McConnell's. I said, it doesn't matter if they have an R or a D in front of their name. That's another box, another divide and conquer system. We are Americans first, people. Go back to Steve Bannon, who has had a lot of influence in my life over the last 4 years, sits in a federal prison. Now, he did it willfully and gladly because he never turned his back on the one man that gave us 4 years of peace and prosperity, whether you would like to admit it or not. And that's Donald J. Trump. You know what a team is, right? See, what you see happening in this fiasco circus that's going on in Washington right now with the Democrat Party trying to find a way to uninstall Joe Biden as their nominee and install somebody else in a way that it makes everybody happy, but at the same time can maybe pull voters back in another direction to divide the country even further. And nobody still sees it from that perspective, because the tribalism is so powerful, so overwhelmingly hypnotized Americans from each camp that they stop talking with the people around them. They stop talking with their families. Look at the nuclear family, how it's been thrown across the entire United States. How often do people in their families now stay in the same city, around the same neighborhood, within the same region, where they can go and see each other on the weekends or on a regular basis? American families spread out all over the country now. Jobs here, jobs there, jobs over here, overseas, blah, blah, blah. Constant, especially if you want to get somewhere and go somewhere and be international, right? We lost connection with the nuclear family. Those smaller towns, those smaller communities, the ones that everybody knew each other and everybody kind of helped each other. We lost sight of that. We put a bigger award to the people that achieve and gain more money, gain more value, gain more of this ritzy class, champagne wishes and caviar dream lifestyle, rather than focus on a person who is a hard worker, who has, what the needs necessary, building a family, bigger and better, to build better and stronger and more powerful generations to come. The United States has literally destroyed so much of what made it great. And it wasn't the people that did this. It was an infiltration by the people who claim to love this country and sold themselves off for money, influence, power, control. So many deadly sins. And the fact that people cannot even see that, because that's the party that they're a part of. Like I was saying before, parties don't matter. You know that, right? Parties are an illusion, much like most of what we are experiencing. It's a label that has been put on something, and then you attach yourself to that label. See, that's what I am. When you're nothing of the sort. You can't identify with who you voted with in the last election. If you do that, that's just silly, okay? You can't be put in any box. No human being can. But this whole system has set itself up in a way that you're going to be put in some boxes, I'm going to tell you what the boxes are, and you may choose a few boxes for yourself. As many boxes as you'd like to put yourself in, because the more boxes you do put yourself in, the more you're going to separate yourself from so many other people. Right? Because you're unique. But 99% of the stuff is the same. We agree on majority of the time, because those issues are usually non-issues. And I think a lot of this comes down to education, reinvestment in the people you're supposed to be taking care of. See, this country lost sight of something because the people who were up there stole it all and then wanted you to pay for it. I've done many videos about the process by how we have gotten here. But the clown show that we have gotten from this whole thing is not ending. And it's not going to end. It will never end. As long as you still sit there and do nothing and expect me or that person or somebody else will just take care of it. Somebody always does. Because we live in America where 80% of work is done by 20% of the people. That's a truth, without a doubt. At any job, there's always the one guy or gal in that place that does majority of the work in the department that they're in, opposed to the other people. They just are much more driven, much more focused. There's no doubt about that. But it's going to take a lot more than that one or two people running a whole show if you want to defeat this cartel, which is international and has no problem because they've convinced everybody. Divide and conquer, like I told you before. Everybody's in a box, in a variety of different boxes. You can't come out of those boxes. If you come out of those boxes, you're going to lose connection with the people you're connected to in those boxes because they believe they're in that box too, and it keeps going down the line. Do you see how the lunacy never ends? We got to be, well, there are so many illusions that this matrix plays on people. And I struggle with how people can't see it. I really do. Because I want what's best for every human being on this planet, this plane. We've lied to. It's the lies. I keep going back to when lies are, it's that one thing. The one thing I hate more than any, and I say hate with an absolute sense of the word. I hate liars. I'm not saying that I'm perfect and I haven't done, but I'm talking about, the golden goody ones, the ones that have no problems destroying your family while enriching themselves type of liars, thieves. Those type of people. If you know a person like that, if you are a person like that, that's not human. That's not what this whole thing is. You've heard me talk about this a couple different times on this channel about societies, 0 level society, 1 level society. In order to reach a level 1, which we are not, we are level 0 because if I was an alien race that came down to look at this place, I would say, these are fucking animals. Look at them. They can't even figure out there's 2 different types of genders. And these people really don't hate these people. They're so easily triggered. Look at them all. Here, just throw a little bit of pixie dust on that one. Ooh, look at them. They get all excited, It's crazy. You don't even recognize you're being pushed. It's so crazy. That the American people, and as I said, the left in particular, you're being used. You're being manipulated. And there are people like me that have been trying to help for over 20 years. I used to be a Democrat many moons ago. And then I saw what was happening within these structures, and it's like, you can't see it? Okay. Hysterical blindness. This thing where we don't want to see. And we don't want our world to be destroyed because that means that I've been working for this party or this group for so many years and they've been lying to me and I was the fool for believing it. Better to find out now than to find out when it's too late. I said, this is a re-examining of conscience. this, everybody. You've got to re-examine why you believe what you believe, how you came to the conclusions you did, know what you know, because people are in a constant state of lying. This whole world is the biggest bullshit story of all time. A lot of the history as to how we got here, from all the way from science to the historical books, and how things have slowly kind of, we don't know what the hell happened here, let's fill this in with something. There's so many stories. Okay, there's the stories that made America, and then there's the stories that America made up. And you don't think that's true, but there are many of them. The question you have to ask yourself is why? What is the agenda behind this? Because there's always agenda if somebody's telling you a story, and they want you to believe that story. Look at the media. They are constantly in the state of telling you a story, a tale, a narrative. They have written out for them, and then their key people disseminate that story throughout the day, and then it gets repeated over and over and over and over again, because what does the media control? 93% of everything you read, watch, or listen to. And you can't figure out why, or how easy it is to hypnotize people. It's everywhere. It is everywhere. And people don't even know how they know, but they know. And they're willing to fight to the death on their politics. I'm going to fight to the death because I know. But majority of people just don't, because they haven't really checked into any of it. It's fascinating. It's scary at the same time, because America used to be better than this, and that is what my goal has been for the past 3.5, 4 years now. If you want things done right, you have to do them yourself. You have to find what it is that you are, what it is that you bring to the table. I mean, again, I don't have any Washington, D.C. experience, but I don't need any. I'm a human being. I've lived real life. I know how the human person works better than anything. I can figure people out usually pretty quick. And most people, they don't really care. They just want to be able to enjoy their time, not have to kill themselves, have all of their needs met. And not most, when we say needs, they're not even talking about anything crazy. They're talking about the basics of life. You know, if you want to work a little harder, you get a little bit more, fine. But the way we're doing this is slave labor, almost to the point where you're not going to own a damn thing, and there's not a thing you're going to be able to do about it. We got to drop the labels. I swear to you, that is what is killing us. If we do not drop the labels, it's not going to matter who's in the White House, because we'll keep fighting. You think it's crazy that these elections are like always like 50-50, pretty close. It's like, how does that happen? How is it 50% of the world thinks this is right, and 50% when America was never like this? These endless wars. You know, America was not always the police chief of the entire world, where we go around, you know, seeing what's going on over here, seeing what's going on over here, seeing what's going on over here. No. We were isolationists for the most part. Look, as long as it didn't, you know, it wasn't going to affect us directly or anything, and as long as there wasn't major atrocities, we try to stay the hell out of that kind of stuff. It's a regional thing. The people of that region need to deal with the, you know, and that's the same that goes for here too. We got to put this country first. We got to take care of the issues of this country first. And the amount of revenue that this country takes in domestically every year is unreal. The numbers are unreal, but we piss it away. You don't know we're broke. We're beyond broke. And that's because of the Ponzi scheme that Truman and allowed to infiltrate our It's unbelievable how we got here. But the antidote to all of this is you and I. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to, oh, it's impossible. It's impossible. Can't be done. We're way beyond the scope of returning. Look, I just watched TikTok earlier today, and there's millions of purple, pink, green haired women with nose rings and all sorts of tattoos and going online and saying about how this, that, this, blah, 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 and it's so confused. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. There's no way of saving it. Everybody's beyond repair. I don't believe that. Psychosis goes away when you no longer entertain the psychosis, when you no longer give it validity. See, I live in the real world. I don't play the games of the people that want to play those. I don't. I'm not going to enter into a reality that doesn't exist, okay? If you want to live in Candyland, you go live in Candyland. But here, in this realm, you don't get to control what anybody says, what anybody does, what anybody thinks. I don't control what you think, you don't control what I think. But the only way we're going to be able to communicate is living in one reality. Having a border that is well defined. Not 15 million, 100 million illegals just scattered, not 100 million, 20 million illegals scattered throughout the United States, paid for by the American taxpayers' dime. No, we don't have governments that do that. Governments don't shit on their own people, and governments that do shit on their own people are tyrannical governments. We have a tyrannical government. It goes without question. Look, Merrick Garland walks around, Mayorkas the same, walk around Washington, D.C. with the strut, a smirk and a grin, because they're protected. The deep state's protected them. You know, the weak soy boy Republicans basically did it again. These people, even though it's obvious the wrongs they've done, it's obvious they know they have done wrong because they don't answer any questions, but yet you still have people in that house protecting the people that are destroying you. And they don't answer to anybody. They don't answer to you. They don't care what you think. You need to look at the people who didn't vote and the ones who don't vote for what the people are asking. And you need to get those people out of office. That's the only way, is to remove this rot requires everything you got, everything I got. And there are a lot of people that think that this is never going to get fixed. And statistically, they would be right, because Americans are extremely hard to move and hard to convince that they need to do something in order for things to get done. There are a lot of people doing it, but it's going to require even more. If you love your country, if you love what could potentially be, and again, I'm not one of those pie in the sky, a good time is coming to me ever so far away. I ain't promising shit, because there's no way I can, because the clown show has gone on in its own manner for as long as time has begun. But I believe that there is a access to information this time around, and access to instant information this time around, and access to being able to see behind the curtain if you're willing this time around, and that opens you to a whole different world. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But so many people don't even want to take a look. I often wonder why that is. Are you afraid of what you're going to see? Are you afraid what you might discover about yourself? About the reality of this place? About the people that have been lying to you? Many amongst the religious, they don't want to be told that whatever they believe is wrong. What if there was a way to prove that it's wrong? Would you? No. It's very hard to get people to break their commitments or their beliefs, especially if they've carried them for a very long time. I know better than anyone. But the only way we become better, the only way nations blossom, bloom, and thrive is we have to be in the know. We have to have full transparency. We have to communicate with each other. We have to stop breaking each other apart and stop dividing each other and putting each other into boxes. This divide and conquer approach has been gone out through history, and yet we continue to keep falling for it. And it's got to stop. You want a better life? Let's stop arguing. Stop. Put the bullshit down for 5 minutes, because in the end of this whole thing, all these arguments, all these groups, they're going to dissolve, and you'll just be in your own little camp, scratching your head, wondering what happened to your freedom, what happened to that Constitution. And here's the thing, you'll be the last one thinking about that, because the next generation won't even know a Constitution ever existed if these people succeed, because they'll burn it and destroy any trace of this ever existing. That's what I'm talking about. Language, border, culture. Your history is your identity. You destroy that, it no longer exists. If they get rid of all of us and then bring in a whole bunch of orphan children and then just scatter them around the United States and tell them a story, guess what? That's what the new story is going to be. There ain't going to be a story of America, because that story will no longer exist. Do you get me? This is why it's so important that you get involved, that you stay involved, that you pay attention, and you become the active participant in your family. And then when they see that it's important to you, and they see that what you're doing is having an impact, they're going to want to be part of it, because people want to be part of something great. I've always believed that. This is the reason why so many people want to work for President Trump. That's why Project 2025, which is another key thing that is all throughout the media, and if you aren't stumped by the whole Project 2025 thing, you keep hearing that, all the media is beating Project 2025 up right now, and they're dissecting their mission statement and all this other stuff. And people need to understand what Project 2025 is trying to do. It's trying to staff that cesspool in Washington, D.C. with people who have a clear vision of what it's going to take to put this country back to the way it was, what it originally was designed to be. You, the people, with the power. Donald J. Trump is a moderate Republican. He isn't an ultra-right winger at all. You got to remember, he comes from New York City Democrats, working class. So he's not ultra-right wing. This whole, I said, tale, story, narrative that the mainstream media likes to present to you is just that. You're smarter than that. You know better. You know when you're being bullshitted, don't you? Come on. The way we win, the way we return to sanity. And again, this is all I want. I just want to get things right. I don't care at all. You want to take the credit, your team, your tribe, take the credit. I just care about American families. I care about the culture, the county, the state, the land that I grew up in. You know, what I remember when I was growing up versus what I see today is insane. So for a person who is in their 70s and 80s, it's unrecognizable. Because like the small town, you go to small town, people make fun of people in small towns. Oh, that backwoods, arrogant, ignorant. No! Hard working, smart, and probably more well-read than you think. Most of those people are, they're dug in. And they know civics, and they know their laws, and they know their system probably better than most. It's the city folk, the urbanites, the people that think they're in the know because they're part of the group that goes to Starbucks every single day and has the ice cappuccino grande, whatever the hell it is. Point being is, just because you think you know doesn't mean you do. And to pretend that you do when you really don't makes you a fool. And there's enough fools in this world. So to walk around protesting and professing tomfoolery is just stupid. This whole thing, Americans are better than this. You are better than this. It's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, recognizing that all the people around you, the parties, the groups, and everything, were all lying to me. But you know what's really cool? You can always find new friends. Because anybody who's willing to lie to you, manipulate you, use you, not build you up, tell you the truth, and try to be as honest to you as possible, those aren't friends. They're not on your team. So you need to get the hell out. A team is not a group of people who work together. A team is a group of people who trust each other. Trust is the opposite of lying, isn't it? Truth, trust. Trust takes time. Trust takes time. And the way you determine whether or not someone is telling truth is through the consistency of that pattern. The mainstream media is really good at taking what is truthful, and when they can't win on the facts, they go after the person. Because they can't beat you on policy. They can't beat you on the merits of the policies that you've implemented. Well, the best way to do it is to take you out through the courts, through character assassination, or by other means. Because when you can't win, you cheat. And that's the American nutshell, the American clown show at play. My hope, and again, I say this in a very loose term, because I believe if you want change, you have to become the change you want to see. So I've taken steps to do my part to change on a trajectory for my life, because I know where I'm going to be. I just have to make sure that I put myself in that right attitude to be ready when that time comes, right? And you can do the exact same thing. And I've seen this happen nonstop. I see it happen all the time. But this comes back to the belief and the power that you have. If you want radical change in the world that you live in, you have to become part of that change. You have to become the hero of your own life story. That is the reality. And most people don't want to take up that cross. They don't want to take up that quote-unquote cross, right? Because it's a hard one to bear. This world, which many people don't believe it's worth it, and in many days I agree, but I care about the conscious beings on this place. I care about the American people. I see them every single day. I see people on the street, homeless, that are suffering. They're begging, stealing, just to stay alive, right? And it should never be. Who the hell would want to come into a reality like this just to have to suffer day in and day out to barely get by? What's the purpose, right? Why would you, I mean, that's what living is, total purpose, to get up, go to work, put on your clothes, pay bills, but you're going to do it again. I mean, think about that, how nauseating it is just to even say it out loud, let alone live it. But people do it every single day. Majority of people do it every single day. Madness, isn't it? And I don't believe it was ever supposed to be like this. But we'll never know, as long as we keep arguing amongst each other over petty bullshit while they keep stealing all of the riches. You notice that their life is doing really well. I think it was just came out, what was it, on CNN about Nancy Pelosi, and they're trying to make now some new rules. Now they're going to make some new rules that Congress people can't make stock deals while they're serving. Now, why would that be? Oh, because Nancy Pelosi took like a $17 million portfolio and turned it into 200? Maybe. It just... And these people are going to sit to you and lecture you about democracy, about you don't know better, they know better. It just... Come on, people. Stop fighting amongst ourselves. Those people are not serving you. There's only been one person in this entire arena that has put the American people before himself, country, all of this. And that's Donald J. Trump. I am sorry. If you don't recognize it, it's because you have hysterical blindness, cognitive dissonance, or you've been just eating the bullshit sandwich for so long that it has completely consumed you. The hate and this emotional attachment to things that make absolutely no sense, it's got to go. It's got to go. You complain about wanting a world with equality and be able to do all this other stuff. It ain't ever going to exist. Because you're literally voting yourself into slavery. You're voting yourself into this entire globalist oppression when you support the liberals, neocons, an establishment, fourth branch of government in this country. And the way people will say, well, how am I supposed to know? And you talk to people. You start, look, you got to throw away all of your pride and everything. That's what I had to do, the exact same thing. Look, I don't know. I'm completely lost. And it's like, now I just want to talk and we got to figure this out together. And you know what? People love to help. People love to come to aid. And when you start vibrating on the same emotional frequency with everybody else around you, because you start seeing these patterns together, man, A unified America is an unstoppable force. And it's my belief that you're going to see it here real soon. I know people think, nice. Let's put it this way. You can watch some videos that I recorded 4 months ago, some that I recorded 7 months ago, some that I recorded 4.5 years ago. And all of the stuff that I talked about then is happening right now. All of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about right now will be happening a few months from now. You know, I said 4 months ago that you could watch how the Democrats are going to start turning on each other. Once they because again, once you understand how the apparatus works, and once you understand how much lying and bullshit goes on over there, how do you trust anybody in a city like that? Everybody is there for political survival. It's all about money, power, and influence. And everybody's... Look at the people that were willing to stab Trump in the back. His own administration. I'll end it here. I said team. A team is the hardest thing in the world to assemble. But I'm really good at assembling them. But when you get the right parts together, when you get the parts to recognize what each other part knows its role is, it's a beautiful thing when that well-oiled machine starts to turn. Team is about trust, my friends. It's not about working with somebody else, not about different characters and different colors and different shapes and different sizes. No, because every team is different and every task is different. And every team may not be dedicated or might be right for the that task, but I'll tell you, a team is a team is a team. And once you get a team that works really well together, whether it be in athletics, whether it be in business, it's an unbelievable thing. And I believe as well that when America, like I said, gets on the same, when transparency, when we put all of the evidence, all of the truth out on the table and just let you look at it, I think the majority of people are going to come to the same conclusions. Because once you see the unfiltered version of what's really going on, everybody agrees. That's why there's an ascension going on in the Make America Great movement, because it bears the resemblance of reality better than the bullcrap that the mainstream media continues to keep presenting to you. That's where he wins every single time. When you can stand in your own authenticity and just show the American people the reality, guess what? They appreciate it because no one else is telling them the truth. People are tired of it. Team. Project 2025, that's why the media is talking about it. They're afraid of the semblance of the greatest comeback team in American history. You are going to witness it. I hope to be a part of it in some attitude, but I only care about doing one thing, and that's getting us through November 5th, closing the damn deal, and then on day one, we're going to fix and finish the work that got started. But here's the other thing. Those people who just kept playing games these last 4 years and put people in prison, that forced mandates on people, that allowed American peoples to lose their freedoms, watch their relatives die unnecessarily because of bullshit. Well, 2025 can't get here soon enough, can it? All right, my friends. I'm here to serve you. I have many other videos. Please hit the like and subscribe if you wouldn't mind, if you found some benefit to this. I do this because I really want to change the way you see the world so that in turn this world can just work for everyone. It's a shame that we have a very small portion of psychopaths that run this place. And you can see the reality. The world's a complete mess. I believe that putting the right people in the right place at the right time changes it all. But we have to be willing to put our sacrifice. We have to be able to put our blood, sweat, and tears into it in order to get us to where we need to be, because we've taken our foot off the gas, turned a blind eye to everything while they've been stealing it. One slow drip at a time. And they were almost successful. But now you're going to see the most amazing comeback in American history. I'm telling you this because I believe in you. And I believe when you start fighting, you're going to start to see the same things that I see. When you start communicating with the people around you, you're going to start to realize we're not that much different. Yeah, I may grew up on, the West Coast, you must the East Coast. We may have, different flavors and food choices and a variety of different other things, but that is minute to what we truly believe as American citizens. Freedom, love for our families, love, the ability to not have to worry about crazy crap happening in our communities, feel safe and secure. America's got a lot of beauty. That's why so many people want to come here, but it has been tainted. And this place is going to be a rundown shack very, very soon if we just let these ass clowns run the gambit. And they've done a pretty good job so far. But it changes when you change and I change. We must become the hero of our own life story, so let's do that. All right, my friends, I hope to see you out there. Take care. Share this with a friend if you wouldn't mind. I'll talk with you soon. Peace.